The lesson was brutal, unforgettable, and final. Pip the gopher had witnessed the gambler's ruin and understood with every fiber of his being the wisdom of building an ark. He looked at his own, slowly but steadily growing mountain of acorns. It was real, it was safe, it was his. He felt a profound sense of relief and wisdom. He had won the game by playing it slowly. But as he looked at his wealth, not with greed or fear, but with a new, sober perspective, a strange emptiness began to creep in. He had enough. He had more than enough. A new question, one he had never considered before, began to form in his mind. He turned to the wise badger, his voice filled not with curiosity, but with a deep philosophical wonder. "I've done it. I built my ark. I have a river of acorns that will feed me forever. But why? What is the end goal? Am I just supposed to keep piling acorns on this mountain forever?" The wise badger's smile was different this time. It wasn't the smile of a teacher, but of a guide who had led a traveler to the final peak. "You have finally asked the last question, Pip," he said softly. "You have learned how to acquire wealth. Now you must learn the purpose of wealth. The purpose is not to have the biggest mountain. The purpose is to be free." "Free?" Pip asked. "Free from what?" "Free from the need to spend your days gathering acorns," the badger replied. "Free to spend your time however you wish, to travel, to create, to learn, to simply sit and watch the sunset. This is the great hibernation that the wisest animals work towards. Not a sleep of necessity, but a sleep of choice, financial independence." The badger then led Pip to a magical clearing deep in the woods. In the center stood a pedestal, and on it a single perfect golden acorn that glowed with an internal light. "This is the acorn of freedom," the badger whispered. "It represents the exact number of acorns you need so that your mountain can feed you forever without ever getting smaller. This is your financial independence number." Pip was in awe. How do you find your number?" "It is a secret calculation, known only to the wisest," the badger said, a twinkle in his eye. "First, you must look into your heart and decide, what does your perfect, comfortable year look like? This is your annual feast. How many acorns do you need to live happily for one full cycle of seasons without wanting for anything?" Pip sat down and thought hard. He calculated the cost of his burrow, his food, his travels, a little extra for fun. He arrived at a number. 1,000 acorns, he said confidently. 1,000 acorns a year is my perfect life." "Excellent," the badger said. "That is your target. Now for the magic. The forest, on average, gives back a safe return of 4 acorns each year for every 100 you have planted. So, to generate your annual feast of 1,000 acorns, your mountain of acorns must be 25 times larger." The badger took a sharp stone and carved a number on the pedestal. X25. 25, Pip gasped. "Why 25? "It is the rule of the harvest, Pip," the badger said, a twinkle in his eye. "If you have a mountain of 25,000 acorns, the forest's natural growth of 4% will give you back exactly 1,000 new acorns every year. You can live off the fruit of your mountain without ever touching a single stone of the mountain itself. Your wealth will feed you forever." A mind-shattering clarity washed over Pip. The number wasn't a mystery. It was simple, beautiful math. He took his annual feast number, 1,000 acorns, and multiplied it by 25. 25,000 acorns. The number was huge, terrifyingly huge, but it wasn't infinite. It was a real, tangible target, the acorn of freedom. He looked back at his own mountain of acorns. It was no longer a meaningless pile he was adding to forever. It was a half-built pyramid. And now, for the first time, he could see the shining golden capstone he was building towards. He wasn't just a collector anymore. He was an architect, building his monument to freedom. A fire was lit in his eyes. He was no longer just an investor. He was a man on a mission. He ran back toward his burrow, his mind already calculating, planning, strategizing. He would reach that number. He would be free. He was so focused on the golden peak of the mountain, so filled with unstoppable optimism, that he didn't see the small, dark cloud forming on the horizon. As he ran, a single cold thought stopped him dead in his tracks. A thought of a forest fire, a sudden flood, a terrible accident. He looked at his half-built pyramid, and a new kind of fear, not of the market, but of life itself, crept into his heart. What if I build my mountain almost to the top, and then one bad day, one single disaster washes it all away?